Everybody, it's me again, Chris Gilmore, WPTV anchor, here for another edition of Tax Tuesday here at the station. It's one of the last Tax Tuesdays, as we are creeping very close to that new amended deadline to get your taxes filed. That's May 17th. We are less than a week away, and we just want to invite you guys to this Facebook Live, this live discussion on our streaming and social media platforms during your lunch break as you are getting through your workday, to go ahead and just get any questions out there that you may have as we are in that final stretch. And as always, we have an expert here to help you out, Ms. Chantel Brown from A-Class Tax Solutions right here in West Palm Beach. She's been with us for months in the lead up to this very big day. It's a different year. It's always a busy time of the year, but
Yes.
this has been even more busy. Thank you again. Thank you for all the other times that you've been here with us as well, Ms. Brown. You've answered a lot of questions that our viewers have had. So I definitely appreciate that on behalf of all the viewers out there as well, too. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. I'm just appreciative for the opportunity to be a resource for our community and making sure that we all are updated and aware of what's going on, because as you said, that this has definitely been a different type of year. So thank you for the
Yeah.
opportunity.
And for those of you who have been filing taxes for a while, you know that normally it's a fairly smooth process, but uh, if anything, you might need a tax preparer to help you out with a few things. But as we mentioned, the pandemic has caused a lot of new and different situations. The unemployment atmosphere has caused a lot of different and new
Hmm.
situations. So people who have never filed for unemployment before are finding themselves in that situation. So those are the guys who and girls, ladies and gentlemen, who are asking questions for. If you have any questions about your unique situation, about your filing, about your refunds, about your status, go ahead and ask that now. We are here live for those. The first question, you guys aren't wasting any time. We appreciate that. Comes from Dennis Vickers. He says today he got a call, I assume from somebody claiming to be the IRS. He says that they asked me for my zip code. My question is, shall I give them my old address zip code, or shall I give them the new address zip code? What's your answer to that, Ms. Brown?
So I would say the first thing is to confirm that you're speaking with the IRS, because typically, I mean, unless you have an outstanding balance that they're collecting on, they don't normally call you. So we want to make sure that first that we confirm that we're really speaking to the IRS. And then if that is the case, whenever you're verifying information with the IRS, you always want to use the last information that you used when you filed your return. So if your old zip code was the is what was used or what they would have on record, then that's what you want to do, because they wouldn't be able to verify you with the new information until that is updated in their system.
Okay, there you go, Dennis. Hope that answers your question. Also, Donna coming in with some questions for us during the lunch hour here. She says she sent her payment in 2 months ago and it still hasn't been cashed. She's concerned about penalties. Is that part of the holdup too? I know that there's a big backup in the IRS pipeline in terms of
Yes.
getting things to people. Are their payment system is that also backed up? You would think that the IRS
Yeah.
doesn't want to wait to take your money, but are those payments being backed up as well?
Yeah, so if it was a payment, Donna, that was mailed in, then it's very likely that that is the case, that they're still behind on mail. I know in some of their departments, we were just told, I think it was on yesterday or the day before, but this week, that they're still processing mail from August of last year. So there is a delay in mailing. So if that payment was mailed in, it is very well that they have not processed it as of yet. But as long as your payments are postmarked on or before May 17th, before midnight of that day, then you're okay. You're not going to be charged any penalties for filing, because the postmark is what's going to show that you made that payment timely. So I
Okay.
hope that answered the question.
Okay, there you go, Donna. Moving right along. Thank you guys for sending in your questions. Keep them coming as we have Miss Brown here for a limited time during this last Tax Tuesday. We want to get them answered. I remember talking about this last week, though, Miss Brown, or whenever the last Tax Tuesday was. And it was a good topic of discussion. Jack asks, he filed electronically and owed $1,700 because of not having his unemployment taxes taxed, his unemployment payments. After
Mhm.
filing, as announced that the first 10,200 to be non-taxable, should he send the $1,700 in now, or wait for the IRS to adjust and advise him on the new payable amount?
So I would say, Jack, that I would definitely wait for them to adjust it. It had, I know that they had sent out guidance saying that that was happening. They were going to start doing that the middle of this month. So my presumption is going to be maybe once the season ends on Monday, which is May 17th, that they'll go ahead and start processing those. But if the only reason why you owe, so if you are going to owe even with that exception, then I'm going to say pay because you don't want it to be late. But if the only reason why you owed was because of the $10,200 that is now considered non-taxable, then I would just wait for them to do that adjustment. So that, because what happens is if you pay it now, it could possibly get lost in the shuffle, not lost, but delayed, should I say, in the shuffle, and then it'll gonna take you a bit longer in order for you to get your money back.
Would it be possible if Jack pays and they see that it was part of the 10,200 that shouldn't have been taxed? Will they refund that money to him?
They will, but that's gonna be a process.
And no one likes waiting. A lot of people are
Right.
already waiting. Okay, Bobby asks and writes in. She says, my 1099-G has incorrect information on it, and the DEO agrees, but she cannot get in contact with anyone that can or will correct it. The IRS says to file with the correct information and attach a statement to my return explaining why I used the figures that I did. Is there another way to resolve this problem? Sounds like a situation maybe for an amendment form, or what's your
No.
recommendation?
So my recommendation is definitely going to be to follow the IRS's guidance, Bobby, and go ahead and file it with the correct information. The only thing is if in order for you to add the explanation, you're going to probably have to mail that return in.
Okay, there you go. Some wise advice from Miss Brown again. Moving right along to Ira. Ira writes in, I was supposed to get $670 for my taxes from the recovery rebate and only got 70. I called and they wouldn't give me a direct answer when I would get my $600 direct deposit. Have you heard of that happening and at all, Miss Brown?
I try. So I'm not exactly sure. So I would say, Ira, the 670 is definitely an odd number, considering that it was a 1,200 payment, a $600 payment, and then, or a $1,400 payment. Depending on which payment you only receive the $70 on, it could possibly be based on your income. So the economic rebate was definitely, it was based on income. So the higher your income was over the, I think it was like the $75,000, it lowered the amount of stimulus check that you were going to receive. Unfortunately, you can't call the IRS and have a direct conversation with them about that because the number that they have, they only answer generic questions. So what I would say is you definitely may want to get with a tax professional who can call the IRS, have you sign like power of attorney forms, who can call on your behalf. And, or either you can log into your account and get a tax transcript from the IRS so that you can try to figure out what happened with that. But you're correct. They will not have that conversation with you directly, specifically about that rebate.
Okay, so again, find your friendly tax expert or professional. They'll get your questions answered. Kara, moving right along, asks my tax, or Kate, sorry, asked that my taxes kept getting rejected for my state, and she's unsure what to do to get her taxes for state processed. Her 2019 ones still have not been processed, so my income for 2019 isn't on file.
So, Kate, what I would say is if your return is rejecting, specifically if it's for the state, then you may just have to mail that return in. Direct, like do a mail-in return to your state in order for you to get that process. And I would say is if 2019 was filed and it's been filed a while ago, that you may want to contact them directly so that you can try to get some type of guidance on is there anything additional that they're needing or was something missing so that you can get that process. Because what normally happens is if 2019 hasn't processed, even if 2020 gets accepted, it won't process either because you're stuck in some type of error resolution stage.
In a situation like that, Miss Brown, would you recommend if you're mailing in your state taxes, like Kate did, to even like photograph or scan it before you mail it in case it does get lost or there's some kind of processing holdup?
So what I would say, definitely you want to keep a copy of it, and you want to keep a copy of exactly what you mailed in. My suggestion at this point is whether you're mailing to the state or whether you're mailing to the IRS, just simply because there have been so many delays with mail, just the mail system itself, is that you're not going to want to do that just regular mail. You're going to want to make sure that you have some type of form of tracking on there. So not necessarily signature required, because they don't normally allow, they won't normally sign for it, but you want to make sure that you're tracking it, so that you don't want to just pay like the regular postage. You want to put it in a form to where you're able to see that it was received by the IRS or by the state, whomever it is you're sending it to.
Okay. And I know a lot of people have been waiting for similar responses or action by the IRS. You don't want to refile that, right? You just,
Abs- Absolutely not. We actually had a client last year that did that. He was very impatient and he refiled it. And right now he's still having a problem, because what happens is, once the IRS gets it, they were in the process of processing his return, and then they got the second one. It looks like fraud. So it automatically goes under fraud investigation, because they want to make sure that it's the correct person who is trying to file the taxes. So if you've already filed your return, you want to confirm that the IRS had received it, but if you sent it in, you don't want to send a second copy, because then that's going to cause you even farther problems.
okay. I know it's hard, but be patient and trust the
Right.
process and contact the right people. Ashley asked, and this is another question that we've got, or comment that we've got. Will it really be 10 weeks from filing till we receive our taxes? Again, this tax cycle is different than the ones that
Yes.
we've had in the past. She says she's never received taxes later than 21 days of filing. And Ms. Brown, if this was last year, that would have been what you said. Hey, guys, it's not going
Mhm.
to take longer than 21 days. But
Right.
explain for Ashley that this year's a different kind of animal.
Th Right, it is definitely, it's actually funny, Chris, and so Ashley, yes, it is possible. Last week, after our talk last Tuesday, I actually had to get on a call with the IRS, and, the guidance as of that date was that it could take, if something happens, so if your return does not process in 21 days, it automatically goes into a queue called error resolution. And that simply means, that doesn't mean anything is wrong with your return. It simply means that the automated system could not process it. So it didn't like something on it, it kicked it into error resolution. As of last Tuesday, error resolution's guidance was 10 weeks. However, they're saying that it could take longer than that, but the IRS has not actually issued any guidance on how long it could take. But the time is about, it's 10 weeks right now if you get kicked into error resolution.
Wow. Okay. So you're not alone, Ashley. There's a
Yes.
lot of people who are in that error resolution queue. I know if I were, I'd be anxiously awaiting, even if it were a payment that I had to make to the IRS, some kind of response that they received it, because you don't want to be hung up knowing that you haven't got your filings processed. Bobby asked a follow up to her initial post saying, "Can a tax professional or preparer attach an explanation to an electronic return on behalf of the person filing,
No. Oh, the only
even if
the
they
only
sign
way
a
that
power of attorney type thing that you were talking about?"
Yes. So with the electronic filings, the only way that we can do an explanation is if it was an amended return, because we are able now to file amendments for 2019 and 2020 electronically. So if it's an amended return, then we can do an explanation. But on a regularly filed, there is nowhere for us to do like an explanation with the return.
Okay. There you go. Kate also has a follow up to her situation. She said that they would mail me uh,
Hmm.
something if there was an issue, but she's never received any guidance. They got the payment processed on their site, but still not processed. Uh, Still not showing as processed. She corrected. Just not sure how to ensure it gets practice and processed. Thanks so much for the help.
That's interesting, because normally, as Chris mentioned earlier, if they have it in hand, they normally don't take any time to cash your check. So I would just say, Kate, that if they're showing that it has been received, that it could just be because that because most of the things with IRS is electronically done. It's not manually. Like, so we think a lot of things is manual. It's not. The computer system does most of the work, and it could just be overworked and backed up So what I would say is, if you were my client, my recommendation to you, Kate, would be that you call them every 2 weeks, just so that you can make sure that there's not any problems with processing your payment.
Can you request like something in writing from them to ensure that they have your paperwork to kind of give Kate some kind of peace of mind, not knowing right now if she's going to have her filings processed?
Process. So I would say, as long as they have acknowledged receipt of it, that's the most important thing. It's when they're saying, like, you mailed it that long ago and they're saying they have not received it, that I would be concerned. But if they're acknowledging receipt, then it's really just a matter of someone pressing a button maybe that needs to be pressed in order for it to move along in the process. So that's why my
I would
recommendation would be to continue to call, because it's unfortunate, but you can call 5 different people at the IRS and get 5 different responses.
Does the IRS have a portal, Miss Brown, where you can track whether or not online if your filings have been processed or received?
Absolutely. So that's if you're able to create an online account with the IRS, then yes, you will be able to see, you'll be able to pull transcripts that'll show you once it processes. But unfortunately, everyone isn't able to create an account with the IRS because of the requirements. And so, in order to create an account with the IRS, you have to have either a mortgage loan, that reports, a student loan that reports, a auto loan that reports, or a credit card. So, and it has to be a credit card, not a debit card, not a prepaid card. So you have to have those things in order to create an account online. If you're due a refund, then absolutely the website that is being shown right now is Where's My Refund is going to be your best option. But if you have a balance due, the only way that you can do it online is by creating that account directly with irs.gov.
Okay, there you go. We're seeing below those comments a lot of people adding to the frustration that we know is out there. A lot of people waiting 10+ weeks,
Yes.
for their refund. Dee says that she filed in February, and every time she checks, it's still processing. So
Yeah, so one of the other things D is very unfortunately, and I feel your pain, because we have clients that's calling regularly trying to find out like what's going on with their money. But again, when I spoke with them last week, the representative was very clear that because of the restrictions with COVID, they still are not 100% at IRS. I want to say she told me they were less than 75%, and that a lot of people were still working from home. So that is causing a lot of the delays with the phones, because people are having a hard time even getting through. Like I said, I think on one of the calls, we have a direct line that we should be able to get through within 5 to 10 minutes. That when we call, we're getting the same message that a regular taxpayer gets on the 829-1040 number. So it's an unfortunate thing, but the only thing that the best advice that we can give is that we just be patient.
oh man, we definitely sympathize with y'all out
Yeah.
there. It could happen to anyone. The reason
Right.
why we're having this Facebook Live, this Tax Tuesday again, guys, we have it on the bottom of the screen there. The deadline quickly coming up, May 17th. Normally you think April 15th. That's the regular deadline, has been for years for taxes to be filed. The IRS went ahead and bumped that to May 17th just because of the unique situation that not only all us Americans are in who are trying to file taxes, but that the IRS is finding themselves in. They're still inundated, backlog, dealing with
Mhm.
tax refunds from the previous year on top of
Right.
the people who are trying to do what they're supposed to do and get their taxes in, on time. But what's your recommendation, Ms. Brown, to those who are still waiting to file here in the final 6 days?
So I
What
would say to get it done. Because the unfortunate thing is, I know a lot of people, because I've had clients in the past that they want to file the extension because in their mind, all of the heavy stuff is done, so it makes it easier. We have not recovered. The economy itself hasn't recovered from 2020. The IRS as an organization has not recovered either. So what's happening is they're more inundated than probably an average business, because there's, like I say, they told us they were still processing mail from August of 2020. So I would say to go ahead and get it done. Waiting longer is not going to make it easier. And you want to just make sure that, like I said before last week, even if you owe and you don't have the money, file anyway, because then you eliminate that late filing penalty in order to try to reduce how much you're going to owe the IRS. So the best recommendation that I would have is to make sure that you have all of your paperwork together. So just get organized and try to get somewhere, even if you do it yourself, but try to get it done before the 17th. And if you can't, which I know, like we have clients who they're still waiting on documents. So if that is your case, then just make sure that even if you think you're going to get a refund, go ahead and file an extension.
Okay, just another. What happens to someone who forgets to or doesn't file on time, even with this pushback date of May 17th?
So if you are 100% sure that you're going to get a refund, then there's really no penalties involved because the reality behind the situation is they're not in a hurry to pay you, right? So there's no penalties. You just want to make sure that you file before the third year is up. So if you have not filed, and that simply means if you've not filed your taxes that was from 2018, if you've not filed your taxes from 2018, your last chance to get a refund for that tax year is by filing before May 17th. Your return has to be on time, has to be filed on or before May 17th in order for that to be considered a return filed in time to get a refund. Now, if you owe the IRS, that's a different story. If you don't file on time, then there's a failure to file penalty. And then if you don't pay on time, there's a failure to pay penalty. And the penalty for failure to file is little bit more than the one for failure to pay. So my recommendation is always that even if you don't have the money, if you know that you're gonna owe, which unfortunately is a lot case for this year because people made a lot of money with unemployment and different other pulling money out of their retirement accounts. So we're seeing right now a lot of people that's gonna owe the IRS. Even if you don't have the money to pay, you can always either file an extension and just make sure that you file before October 15th, or go ahead and file your tax return now. And you can also do an installment agreement with that return so that that is your way of saying the IRS say, hey, I know that I owe you. So will you allow me to pay you over time?
A good point we brought up in previous chats is that those payment plans will have interest on them.
Absolutely. So you're still going to be, so there is a fee to set up the plan, which, and I don't want to quote an amount, but there is a fee. So there's a one-time fee to set the plan up. And then you're still charged interest, but not penalties. So the interest, the way that I like to tell my clients to look at it is as if you were to take out an installment loan with someone, you're going to pay interest on whatever that balance is. So you're still going to be charged interest, but it helps alleviate the penalties. So then now you're not worrying about paying so much because it is easy to owe the IRS $100 this year and in 5 years owe them $1,000 with penalties and interest being added. So that is not uncommon for that to happen. So we try to make sure that we do whatever it is that we need to do in order to try to eliminate some of the additional penalties.
And it stacks up quickly. Last thing you want to do is
Yes.
have a tax evasion case on your hands.
Right.
Okay. Tiffany asks, how long would you typically wait for a paper filing as opposed to electronic?
So Tiffany, pre-COVID, it was 6 to 8 weeks. Right now, I think they are working on 14 to 18 weeks
Okay, and
on
then
a paper file return,
you could also end up in that error queue you were talking about.
which could take longer. Exactly. Exactly.
Okay. Thank you guys so much for being so active in the comment section. If you have any more questions for Miss Brown, she loves, I don't know why, but she loves answering these tax questions. So
Yes.
you go ahead and fire them off. We're here to answer them. She's been doing a great job with us here on Tax Tuesdays here at WPTV. She wants to make sure that if you are owed some money, get that money to you. Like a lot of you in the comment section have been saying, it's desperately needed, especially after this year. But also, if you owe money to the IRS, you don't want to stack more payments or penalties on top of that. So there's a way to go about it appropriately and legally. Go ahead and take care of that. Kathy writing in. Thank you for chatting with us, Kathy. She says she's still working and spouse age 62 began collecting Social Security in 2020. There's a limit to earnings for the year before they begin withholding Social Security. How does my income, her income, come into play? Should they file jointly or separately? That's a good question.
So, Kathy, that is really a good question. So, so your income is going to play a part in his Social Security being taxable. And Social Security is only taxable if there is other income, right? So because of the fact that you work, depending on what your income is, and I don't like to, because I normally don't say the numbers correctly, but there is a limit on how much you can earn to prevent his Social Security from being taxable. So Social Security can't be taxable at 100%, but it can definitely be taxable up to 80%. So what I would say is to do an analysis to see what it would be if you guys filed together and what it would be if you filed separately. Because not if his only income is Social Security, then he probably wouldn't have a tax debt because his Social Security wouldn't be taxable. But if your income is high enough, then definitely it could cause you all to be in a higher tax bracket because a portion of his Social Security is going to be taxable. So the best recommendation. So I can't say whether you should file separately or file jointly, simply because I don't have the information in front of me to give you accurate information. But I would definitely advise that you look at it both ways.
Oh, a tax preparer or professional be able to do that analysis for them?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's
Okay.
just like you don't wanna, everything is relative. So on a platform like this, it's easy for me to say file separately, but that may not be in your best interest. So I like to have the information, but definitely you should be able to call a tax professional, provide them with the information, with the numbers, and then they should be able to definitely tell you or advise you as to which way is going to be the best way for you guys to file.
Save some money if you can. I don't blame you. Thank
Yes.
you for writing in, Kathy. If any of you have any more questions, feel free to give them to us. I'm going to ask Ms. Brown some questions because I'm curious, just like all of you, about how to navigate this new terrain here in 2020, 2021. We've been through a lot of different things. We talked about what happens if somebody forgets or doesn't file on time. But what about after the deadline passes, some fear an audit? What should people do if they do get audited? What's the response plan?
Okay. So that's actually a really good question, Chris, because a lot of people are afraid of the IRS. And
I
as
am.
crazy as crazy as it sounds, like, you should not be afraid of the IRS. So the only people that should be, I tell clients all the time, the only way you should be afraid of the IRS is if you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, right? So if your documentations, if you are organized and you have all of your information in tow, and everything that you have submitted on your tax return is legitimate and it's documented, an audit is just like going to get an exam at the doctor's office, right? So there, you don't have anything to worry about as long as you're doing what you are supposed to do. If you get audited, you turn those documents over, or you have your tax professional, attorney, or whoever it is, turn those documents over, and it's going to be an easy fix.
And we
So
were chatting earlier, depending on the route that you go to file those audited returns, you might not even have to do anything because
right.
sometimes the preparers take that risk on themselves.
Right. And that's the reason why I think it's really important that if you're going to do, as we talked earlier, if you're going to do it yourself, make sure that you have a safeguard in there where you have someone who is going to come and have your back, right? They're going to come and go to bat for you, because the IRS, the audits can be tedious. And the thing is, for me, if I have a conversation with an IRS representative, I'm understanding directly what they're talking about. If it's something that they're saying that's not according to the code, I can call that out, right? But the average taxpayer, you don't have that knowledge. So you want to make sure that you align yourself with a professional, someone who can, provide you with the assistance that you need, as well as the answers that you need to make sure that you're filing on time. And what I would say is, don't be afraid of the IRS, because real life, they work for you, right?
And to
But you want to
clarify
make
that
sure you have,
I do pay my taxes. I've done everything
right,
legally, but it's intimidating,
right.
because the penalties should you be on the wrong side, they're severe.
Right. And that's why I say, so documentation beats everything. So what happens a lot of times is A lot of times, like just real life, we're doing stuff off the fly and it's not all documented. So now, or we're not good record keepers. So when the IRS comes back, it is a problem because now we're already nervous. And when we have nervous energy, even if we have everything in line, it's a hassle because I'm nervous and I don't want to go to jail and I don't want to owe money. So we're going to just want to make sure that that you have everything, and as soon as you get that notification, is to contact a professional. Don't try to handle it yourself, because what I can tell you is you're going to get overwhelmed, and even sometimes when you have all of your information together, it still becomes an issue because of the overwhelm.
Mhm. Don't need the stress.
Right.
Well, thank you so much for answering our questions. Thank you, everyone, for answering your questions for Ms. Brown as well, or asking those questions. I hope you guys found it informative. Getting choked up here. This is the last Tax Tuesday. We've had
Yes.
such a good time. I've learned so much about the tax filing process, more than I would have expected. If you want to, guys, go back, they're all saved and
Mhm.
archived on our website and on our WPTV Facebook page. You can go ahead and find them that way. Also, Ms. Brown is here in Palm Beach County. She is the
Yes.
owner of A-Class Tax Solutions. She's been doing this for a very long time. I would trust her with my taxes if it came up to it. I might have to look her up next year, but
Yeah.
she's also, as you see, free here just to answer some questions that you might have. Sometimes
Yes.
you don't have to pay to ask a question. You know, she'll help you out. But if your situation's too complicated, also don't feel afraid to go and get them professionally done. You don't want to
Right.
have that audit. But I remember what you said last time. If somebody hasn't gotten their taxes filed yet, don't procrastinate. Was her
Yes.
recommendation.
Yes.
Get ahead of the ball. You don't want to lose sleep over this. If you have any questions, though, feel free to contact us here at WPTV. That's what we do, answer your questions. But if it comes to taxes, we might be asking Ms. Brown for the answers that you guys are looking for as well. So
Right.
thank you so much. You have any final words for our viewers here, Ms. Brown?
I do not. What I would say again is just try not to procrastinate. Let's get it done. Even if you can't file now, then make sure that you're filing an extension. But we want to make sure that we're covering our bases to make sure that we're not paying the IRS more than is necessary. We only want to pay what we absolutely owe. So we don't want to give any room for them to charge us anything additional.
Okay.
And again, my staff and I, we are here to answer questions. I always have them comb through after the live. So if there's any questions, we'll definitely have someone go through to respond to those questions that may come in. And we're here to be a resource. As Chris said, we do offer tax analysis at no cost. So if you needed to just call and ask a question, we're we're busy, but we're not too busy to be a resource to the community. So feel free to reach out to us.
And Crystal, we do see you creeping in last minute with those
Yes.
comments. Yes, it's free to file an extension, but you might want to go ahead and make a payment plan if you know
If
that you're
you
owing something.
Right. And I would say, Crystal, my advice to you is definitely, if you think you owe, is definitely speak to someone. Because one of the things we find, Chris, is a lot of times people think they owe. And then once you actually are with a tax professional who knows the tax code, it ends up not being as bad as they think that it is. So I would say that if your procrastination is because you're afraid that you're gonna owe, talk to someone, because it may not be as bad as you think it is.
Okay. Like they say in life, there's only two things that are guaranteed: death and
And
tax.
taxes.
So get them filed. Get them filed, everybody. Thank you so much for another great Tax Tuesday session. The last Tax Tuesday session. I'm going to miss it, but hey, I'm going to be here
Yes.
this time next year if you are, Miss Brown.
I will be here. I don't
All
plan on
right.
going anywhere.
Thank you so much, everyone. I appreciate it.
Thank you.